Hey guys, Bruce the part-time prospector here. There's three myths that I commonly encounter out there that most beginner prospectors, not even beginner, but just most amateur prospectors believe. It's those myths that are actually holding most part-time amateur prospectors back. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if you're in WA, Western Australia, anywhere in Australia, potentially. And honestly, I actually believe anywhere in the world. The same three myths hold most people back. People keep believing these outdated myths, generally propagated on social media by the uninformed people going to these forums and whatever, and Facebook pages, etc., and asking for advice with the best, hoping they would get good information. Many times they are given advice that comes from other people who shouldn't actually be giving any advice. And so, believing these three myths actually hold a lot of people back. So, myth number one, okay, how to find gold without breaking the bank. There's a common myth out there that expensive gear equals gold hunting success. Basically, nothing could be the truth. Many cases, this is propagated by people peddling expensive gear, telling you sort of wishful stories that, if you buy the XYZ metal detector, sluice, whatever it is, it's going to find you way more gold than if you bought a cheaper one. When most people should actually start with the simplest possible gold prospecting. Let's start with something as simple as a gold pen, a small shovel, maybe a cutter farm, or if they have a bit more dollars to their, they can even buy a second-hand, middle-of-the-range gold detector, and then get out there and start looking for gold. The big trick with all the equipment that you get is that you've got, and it doesn't matter how expensive or cheap, you've actually got to know how to work your gear. You've got to understand what it's telling you. For example, if you're going out there with a gold pan, practice at home. It's easy to practice. Shovel full of dirt in the pan, take a tiny couple of pieces of lead, you can cut them off, fishing sinker, a couple of BB pellets, no matter where you are in the world, find some, play them around, drop them in the pan, start practicing. You very quickly find out how fast gold sinks to the bottom of the pan. Remember, lead is not as heavy as gold. Gold works to the bottom even faster. So practice with the pan. Practice, practice, practice. If you've got to watch yourself a simple little sluice, just practice, practice. If you've got a middle of the range metal detector, and I would strongly suggest you the higher one or a second-hand one, is then put your berries and targets in the backyard, local wood, local park, whatever it is. And then put some lead in the ground, a bit of aluminium, nail, whatever else, anything else you could find, you've got to exit it. If you've got a piece of gold, bury it in the ground. Practice with a metal detector. See what those sounds are telling you. Because those people that then go to the bush frequently, I'm not saying every weekend, whatever, as often as they can get out, will have way more success than those people with the expensive gear don't actually know how to work their gear. So, myth number two, how to discover rich ground without competing with professionals. The second myth paralyzes most amateur prospectors before they even get started. They believe that all productive ground is either claimed by the professionals, full-time operators, people have been doing it for decades, or has been flogged to death, the old timers. This fear keeps them away from some very good ones, and they don't even try. One of the things about the landscape is that it changes. Now, not drastic. We don't, for example, in Australia, live in a world where there's volcanoes and earthquakes. But every time a winter comes past, every time there's a torrential downpour, tons and tons and tons of soil is washed off the side of a hill. Gullies are scoured out. Rocks and debris and corners of creeks completely changed. Find out where those spots are and go and test it out. Always check areas have been flooding. It doesn't have to be 50 meters of water coming down the place. But as long as it's a good downpour that you'll know the creeks are running, especially in Australia, especially WA, it's worthwhile checking out and go to those areas and having a look. Especially if you know it cuts through goldberry country and it's cutting through ground that you do have access to. One of the things is most casual prospectors won't walk very far. Okay, so they'll go to a particular spot, and lucky if they do 20-minute walk from wherever they. Okay, and if the ground gets slightly more difficult, they just give it up. They stay on the flat paths, the flat ground. They don't walk up the side of the hill. They don't try to climb any steep gullies, bushes and brambles and whatever in place. Don't go into it because they might get scratched or whatever. And so huge swathes of ground are not touched at all. Okay. Make sure to search those bits of ground that people haven't met before. Consider Mike from Ballarat. Great story I heard the other day. He ignored this crowded Sovereign Hill area, Ballarat, Victoria, Australia, and he researched some recent flood damage he'd heard about upstream. After the storm had washed out a farm road, he managed to get written permission from the landholder to go and detect in the gully. And he knew that this gully was linked to the historical gold gullies of the past. And on his first weekend out there, he discovered a 2-ounce bed that had been originally buried, he guesses, about 15 feet underground. But because of the storm day and the storm washing it out and the scouring that took place, it was now within reach of his metal detector. So think ourselves. Third myth here really is how to find better gold in Australia when you think all the good gold is gone. There's no gold there. It's all been taken. It's been stripped. This kills most people's motivation long before they start. They're really thinking all that's left they're picking up now is the scraps, the little bits that the old timers left. And if only it had been rolled in the gold medal detectors and it first came out in the 70s and the 80s, people were racing around Australia and pulling some gold nuggets out. But you can go back to those states. Well, you can't. But they all hammered the same spot. People are still hammering the same spot. So time to find different spots. So so take a day or 2, a week, whatever time you've got, as much time as you can, and research these historical gold fields. What the newer geological surveys? Because remember, the government is always sending people out there. Mining companies are always sending people there. There's always reports of new things happen and find out new techniques. Because one thing that does change all the time is we've currently got metal detectors that are so much better than have ever been in the past. Ever. Okay. Even a middle of the road metal detector now is way better than any metal detector existed 10 years ago. Huge technological advance. So that means each technological advance, the gold hunting capabilities of your detector, the ground that gets opened up becomes better and better and better. So research areas that are adjacent to historical farms, extend zones further out. Look at maps, look at surveys, look at aeromagnetics. And I've talked about that in a couple other videos. And research into these things and find out where things might go. You might be pushing your luck a bit in some areas, but that's how you find the big stuff. If you keep going back to the spots that everyone else keeps hammering, you're going to keep getting the results that everybody else gets, which is deadly. Okay. Just remember that gold doesn't follow human timelines. Tech improves, new ground becomes accessible. There might have been a piece of ground, a lease, for example, that's been torn up by a mining company who's done almost nothing to it for 40 plus years. And suddenly the company folds or bought out or whatever. There's rationalization, and they start freeing up ground. Suddenly this ground come available, and it never, see, it's just been tied up and been held as an asset or something else. So there's still plenty of gold out there. The bush is still full of gold. You just have to know where to look. So prospecting success comes down to one thing: getting out there regularly, doing the work without falling for some of these myths that I've been talking about. Don't wait. Don't overthink. Don't spend yourself poor chasing tools. Don't spend more time shopping than prospect. Okay, I'm talking about gear here. If you stay curious, learn your gear like I talked about before, and build up your time in the field, gold will find its way into you. As I said before, there's plenty of gold left in the wood for those who know to believe that. I hope you guys got some value out of this. If you did, love it if you could leave me a like, subscribe if you're getting value, and comment. Thanks, guys, and I'll catch you on the next video.